Online game, I possess a monster merging simulator. Chapter 331, Dragon Eye Talisman Stone. Lorne put the equipment away. He was going to create a few pets recently, including an archer. Archer was an important position in the team, especially if he wanted to level up quickly. Such a pet was necessary. This quasi-diamond grade equipment was also prepared for the archer in the team. Hopefully, the damage output of the archer pet could keep up with the team. After checking the equipment, Lorne was about to put away the gold coins on the ground, but at that moment, he realized that the boss had dropped an additional tool. It was a round stone with eye-like runes on it. Dragon Eye Talisman Stone. Grade, Rare. Type, Strategic Treasure. Effect, place it in the city and it can grant detection effects to the city. It can detect most invisible targets. Range, up to 50,000 hectares. Activation cost, 10 silver coins/hectare/day. Introduction, a runestone born from a forest drake. It has the ability to see through everything. Good stuff. Lorne's eyes lit up. This was an extremely rare strategic treasure. The so-called strategic treasure was a treasure that could greatly affect the situation of a battlefield. Although this was only a rare grade strategic treasure and was not of high quality, its effect was very outstanding. When it activated at full power, it could detect a map of 50,000 hectares. Any target that wanted to enter the management area invisible would be easily detected by it. This was simply the best defense treasure in the city. Unfortunately, the range of this Dragon Eye Talisman Stone was not large enough to cover the entire cold desolate dragon city. Fortunately, it could sweep all areas of the inner city into the detection range. This effect was already very good. Of course, to make this thing useful, it required a lot of resources. If he wanted it to cover 50,000 hectares of land, he had to pay 5,000 gold coins per day. This consumption was not ordinary. The current cold desolate dragon city could not maintain its work for the time being. However, Lorne felt that it was necessary to let this tool work. This could truly prevent the invasion of spy players or even the invasion of the Dark Abyss. I'll do it after the business circle of the cold desolate dragon city stabilizes. Lorne put the treasure away. Then, he began to collect the gold coins and gems on the ground. After collecting all the gold coins in the valley, there were a total of 75,000 gold coins and 5,000 gems of various types. These were nothing. After all, these were all items abandoned by the forest drake. They were the lowest value of the final treasure. With anticipation, Lorne entered the cave and was truly shocked by the harvest. In this cave, there were tens of thousands of gems of all types and types. There were even some very rare gems. Seeing this, Lorne quickly opened his dragon's treasure vault and began to sweep through the gems in the cave. In the end, he obtained a total of 11,000 units of mineral crystals, 13,000 units of rare gems, and 4,500 units of luxury gems. In addition, there was a large area of cave crystals on the ground. He dug them all out, totaling 120,000 units. In the end, Lorne realized that he had underestimated the wealth of the forest drake. There were so many gems in his nest, which was many times richer than the dragon nests he had encountered in the past. This was a huge gain. Lorne smiled happily. With so many treasures, he could go to the Gnome Mineral Company for a bulk purchase. Cold desolate Dragon City was in urgent need of defense equipment. However, in the Gnome Mineral Company, the price of such a product was extremely expensive. Even Lorne could not help but feel his scalp tingle when he saw the final price. Fortunately, he had the mineral vein map. Otherwise, he would not have seen any hope of buying any equipment. All right, it's finally time to leave. That girl Aisha is probably waiting outside anxiously. Lorne opened the system interface. There was already a choice to leave. Without thinking, he chose to leave. At this moment, in Emerald City, at the entrance of the Elven Holy Temple, a large group of players with the prefix of Domination on them were secretly lurking nearby. However, they were all a little anxious now, because it had been 15 minutes since they had been summoned, but there was still no order from the guild leader, unparalleled domination. "Boss, when are we going to attack?" A player could not help but ask his direct leader, Barbarian. "Don't be anxious. Boss has already gone to see the Dragon of Emerald. Let's wait for Boss to come out first. With his order, we can only attack. Otherwise, if we rashly attack in the Emerald City, in addition to being suppressed, it will also reduce the affinity of the faction. This result is too serious. It's best to avoid it." Barbarian leaned in the alley, staring at the elven girl not far away, and explained to his lackeys in a low voice. "Boss, Tyrant has been in for so long. Did he go to the taboo mystic realm? If this kid really passes, won't our plan fail?" A lackey voiced his concerns. In the end, the barbarian laughed and said, "What are you thinking about? It's not like you don't know what's going on in the taboo mystic realm. That's an impossible mission. There are 5 bosses equivalent to silver grade and 10 monster packs with more than 20 wolves each. Not to mention tearing the players apart, how can you kill all of them in 2 hours alone? Isn't this a joke? What if? After all, he's Tyrant. My ass, which is Tyrant's most powerful pet?" Barbarian asked. "Elf Aisha, her critical damage is more than 100,000. Then let me ask you again, where is this Aisha now?" "She's it," the player pointed at Aisha, then came to a realization and said in surprise, "Oh, I understand now. Boss's observation is still very detailed. No wonder you were not worried that Tyrant would be able to clear it. It turns out that his most capable pet is outside. The taboo mystic realm cannot be entered by elves. Tyrant has directly lost his greatest strength. Without Elf Aisha, he will definitely not succeed. Therefore, I'm very calm now." Barbarian leaned against the wall, his expression extremely relaxed. In the end, he even smiled, "Perhaps when we really attack, that kid will have already failed. At that time, his level will directly decrease by 10 levels and he will lose another 4 pieces of his best equipment. At that time, it will really be a chance for us to kill him completely. Boss is wise." The group of players discussed and laughed. At this moment, the barbarian suddenly paused, then looked at all his lackeys and said, "Brothers, it's time to work. The guild leader has already talked to the elves. Now, it's our turn to force out the true identity of that elf." Chapter 332, Conspiracy. Assassins attack first. Don't care about life and death. Charge. Barbarian gave the order to kill. Immediately, the group of assassins went crazy, charging forward crazily. They did not have any plans, because in the face of this night elf, all their plans were meaningless. They could only attack her crazily with the advantage of numbers. As long as they could stun the other party once, they could obtain victory in the battle. However, as everyone swore, the scene before them made their scalps tingle. A series of miswords appeared. Almost all attacks were useless against this night elf. Before the assassins could recover from their shock, Aisha vanished from their sight. Gosh, this is ridiculous. Barbarian and the players beside him were petrified. The assassins who had attacked just now were all high agility assassins. They were very powerful, especially with the chisel skill. The success rate was very high. However, when these attacks landed on the other party, none of them dealt any damage, much less the skill effect. The group of Domination Guild players were dumbfounded. Barbarian quickly regained his senses and waved the saber in his hand, roaring, "Everyone, charge together! Mages cover all directions! Force her out!" This time, they gathered a huge number of players, more than 1,000. Perhaps these people were not enough, but the people of the Domination Guild were very smart. They knew that they were not the other party's match and might even be killed by this powerful night elf. However, this was the Emerald City. As long as that night elf attacked, the elves of the Emerald City would immediately know, so it was very likely that the other party would not attack. Even if she attacked, it did not matter. They had brought a large number of mages, and these high-level mage players would cover the area. Under such indiscriminate attacks, the other party would definitely be injured. As long as he forced the other party to appear, he would have achieved his goal. They did not think that such an attack could kill the other party. Unparalleled Domination only wanted to use the lives of more than 1,000 players to add to the sins of this night elf. The highest ideology of elves was freedom and peace. They had a natural aversion to killing. Although the night elves had betrayed them, they still did not kill all the night elves. Instead, they killed the dark elves and expelled the demonized night elves. This was already a mercy to the night elves. After all, as elves, it was an unforgivable sin for their bodies to be planted with the seeds of darkness. If Aisha, a night elf, not only appeared in the Emerald City, but she also had thousands of lives to account for, he believed that the high elves of the Emerald City would not let her go easily. This was the Domination Guild's plan. First, they would ruin Tyrant's reputation, then deal with him properly. Ignore the casualties. Attack her indiscriminately and force her out. Archers, light arrow. Mages, use freezing ice and burning flame, cover everything you see. As Barbarian gave the order, all the mages and archers began to use their skills on the target area. This was an indiscriminate attack. They did not want to kill the other party at all. They only wanted to force Aisha to retaliate. Facing such a chaotic attack, Aisha could completely hide nearby, but she did not choose this method. Instead, she held her sharp blade and chose to defend this area because her master had said to wait for him here. Traceless Phantom. Phantom Blink. Aisha faced the incoming players, and the sharp blades in her hand began to dance. She instantly slashed across the throats of several players, then immediately disappeared and appeared behind the other players. She raised her hand and slashed down, decapitating this warrior. Before anyone could react, she disappeared again. This was the power of the Phantom Blink. As long as she killed the target, it could be refreshed. Moreover, she could directly move for 20 yards. Just like that, Aisha kept turning invisible and flashing. Under the barrage of more than 1,000 people, Aisha was completely untouched. She used her powerful displacement to quickly jump among the players. No one could capture her figure. Even an area of effect attack had lost its effect at this moment. There was only a series of miss symbols floating in the air, and they did not harm her at all. The other surrounding players were dumbfounded. Damn, what kind of godly operation is this? It's all misses. This is a high-level NPC, right? Her strength is beyond imagination. 200,000 damage from critical hits. I think she's a level 100 boss. Are all the fellows from the Domination Guild stupid? How dare they provoke such a big boss? It's probably a misjudgment. These guys are used to being arrogant. It's time to let them have a taste of it. I'm dying of laughter. These idiots have provoked a monster today. The players who passed by gathered. Everyone was watching the commotion, especially when they saw the 200,000 damage in the air. They were even more excited and watched with interest. At this moment, an elf team arrived. It was the city guards of the Emerald City. There was also the High Elves enforcement team. Seeing this scene, the players gave way. This time, those people were unlucky. One had to know that the Emerald City was known to be one of the cities with the highest discipline. If anyone dared to fight here, they would definitely not have a good time. The surrounding players were even more excited. Unparalleled Domination, who was following behind the High Elves, smiled. Tyrant, oh Tyrant, do you think you can really do whatever you want just because you have some strength? Stop dreaming. I'm going to kill you today. Don't you rely on this powerful elf pet? Alright, I'll let the law enforcement officers of the Emerald City cripple your elf pet. Let's see what you can do now. Thinking of this, unparalleled Domination looked at the high elf beside him and said, Lady Cora, look. That's the lurking night elf. I suspect that she has been corroded by the dark power. Otherwise, she would not be so savage to kill hundreds of my brothers. Chapter 333, Cunning Person. The elf leader's expression immediately changed. Ever since the night elves were expelled, there was almost no trace of any night elves in the Emerald City, much less anyone who dared to kill in the Emerald City. Elf Cora was furious, but when she saw the scene before her, she froze on the spot. Facing the encirclement of more than 1,000 people, the night elf in front of her did not compromise at all. She did not even show signs of weakness. The sharp blades seemed to be growing on her as they danced crazily in the air, harvesting the lives of the adventurers. What was even more shocking was that she was barely injured. She kept flashing, and no one could even capture her location. How can there be such a night elf? Cora frowned. She had never seen such an agile night elf. Although she was not the strongest, she was the most agile. She danced freely in the crowd. Such a speed was unbelievable. All the high elves were shocked. They also knew what the scene before them meant. It was the phantom assassin of the night elves. This was the legendary Constitution, a natural assassin. They did not expect the current night elves to really have such a powerful phantom assassin. However, even if it was a phantom assassin, without the permission of the Emerald City, she were definitely not allowed to trespass into this city, much less commit murder in this city. Master Cora, please subdue that crazy night elf. Unparalleled Domination continued to beg. I don't need an adventurer like you to teach me what to do. Cora replied coldly and explained, even if she killed someone in the Emerald City, as long as she is not corroded by the dark power, I cannot harm her life. This is the rule of the elves. What? How do you plan to deal with her? She's a night elf. It's obvious that she's plotting to sneak in at this critical moment. Unparalleled Domination said anxiously. Even if she's a night elf, she's still an elf. According to the rules of the elves, before we determine that the other party is demonized, we elves cannot harm our own kind. Why, do you want to overthrow our rules? Cora glanced at him coldly, and Unparalleled Domination immediately fell silent. Behind him, a teammate tugged at his clothes and said, Boss, this Cora is clearly biased towards the night elves. We've found the wrong person. We should find Leader Dolly. He hates the night elves. If he were here, he would definitely teach Tyrant's night elf a lesson. There's no hurry. I've already arranged for someone to inform Leader Dolly. This time, I'm not only dealing with Tyrant. I also want to deal with this Cora who is Leader Dolly's archenemy. If we help Leader Dolly suppress Cora's authority, we'll be the ones in charge of the Emerald City in the future. Not only was Unparalleled Domination not flustered, but he even revealed a cold smile. Hearing this, the lackeys all raised their thumbs. Boss, you're too awesome. You even thought of this. You're simply our role model. Let's wait and see. First, we'll let this Cora reveal her weakness and give her a fatal blow. Alright, boss. We'll listen to you. The Domination Guild had a plan, but elf leader Cora did not know. She stopped the battle and sent people to surround the night elves in front of her, saying, according to the rules of the Emerald City, all the night elves of the Elwyn clan are not allowed to enter the Emerald City. Why did you sneak into the Emerald City? Elf leader Cora stared at Aisha sharply. However, the night elf girl in front of her did not seem to hear anything. She did not say a word and only held her dagger as she looked at her quietly. Cora could not be bothered to say anything to her. She directly ordered the law enforcement elves, capture her. The law enforcement elves who received the order immediately attacked. They took out their daggers and turned invisible, quickly approaching Aisha. But at this moment, Aisha flashed behind an elf. The sharp blade in her hand was pressed against his neck. With just a little force, she could take the elf's life. Night Elf, you'd better think carefully. This is the Emerald City. You trespassed into the city without permission. The law enforcement team has the right to arrest you. Considering the rules of the clan, we can't attack you. But at the same time, you can't kill. Once you violate the rules, what awaits you is definitely death. Cora spoke in time, causing Aisha to hesitate. She knew the rules of the elves. They could not harm their own kind. If she killed an elf here, she would become the traitor of the elves and be despised and hunted by the entire elf race. Thinking of this, Aisha did not act rashly. She only held the saber against the other party's neck to threaten them. That did not work. Cora had expected that Aisha would not dare to attack, so she made all the elves attack directly, ignoring her threat. These elves were already higher level than Aisha. Now that they rushed up, even Aisha could not resist their attacks. In the end, she was forced to the wall of the temple by the elves. Surrender now. I won't kill you. As a phantom assassin, you are the hope of the night elves. I don't want the night elves to disappear. After all, Elwyn was once my best friend. Cora said in a low voice, leave. Leave Emerald City and don't come again. Just as Cora was about to escort Aisha away, another elf team appeared behind them. It was the captain of the guards, Dolly, who had arrived. Killing in the Emerald City violates the 3rd chapter of the Emerald City laws. As one of the guards, it's impossible for you to not know this rule, Leader Cora. With a bow on his back, Dolly looked directly at Cora. It's not up to you to discipline me. Cora said grimly. Ha ha ha, under normal circumstances, I can't care about you, but if you knowingly break the law and try to hide the truth, that would violate the rules of the Emerald City. I can take over and supervise the situation. Dolly laughed. He did not know how happy he was to see his opponent make a mistake. Without waiting for Cora to explain, he looked directly at Unparalleled Domination and asked, Adventurer, tell me everything you know. The Emerald City will not let go of any criminal. Yes. Unparalleled Domination said, Leader Dolly, I reported to Elf Leader Cora that after seeing the Night Elf commit murder in the city with my own eyes. However, she did not stop them and even watched hundreds of my companions die at the hands of that crazy Night Elf. Other than that, she also abused her authority and wanted to let the Night Elf go. Despicable guy. Cora's expression darkened. Dolly, so what if you're trying to frame me? These false charges won't affect me at all. That might not be true. Chapter 334, Rage. Dolly sneered. At this moment, Unparalleled Domination, who had received his signal, spoke again. Moreover, Elf Leader Cora, after knowing that this Night Elf had privately signed a contract with a human, you still want to hide it and fundamentally destroy the rules of the elves for 10,000 years. What nonsense are you talking about? Hearing this, Cora was immediately furious. You never mentioned this matter, but now you dare to distort the truth and slander me. With that, she charged at Unparalleled Domination angrily. But the next second, Dolly blocked her way. Why, Cora, are you feeling angry from shame? Dolly blocked in front of Unparalleled Domination and sneered, with me here today, you can't possibly harm this adventurer who dares to testify against you. I really did not expect you to hide such a huge thing. Cora, you're really bold. Nonsense. I don't know about this at all. Moreover, this guy's words are one-sided. How can anyone believe him? Cora gritted her teeth. The problem with this matter was larger than the Night Elves invading the Emerald City. The elves signing a contract with humans was an unforgivable thing for the elves. If she really committed this crime, she would definitely be severely punished, and she might not even have a chance to turn things around in her life. Moreover, it was impossible to explain. Now that there was no way to prove her innocence, the Emerald City would definitely punish her severely because she wanted to release the Night Elf. Although it would not endanger her life, it would destroy her future. Therefore, she could only hope that this Night Elf was pure. If she really signed a contract, it would be over. Leader Korra, I believe in your innocence. If that was not the case, I would definitely punish this adventurer who sowed discord. However, since everyone knows about this, we have to test it. Dolly took out a crystal. This was a detection crystal unique to the elves. It could test the purity of the elves' souls. Once an elf with a low soul purity appeared, they would definitely have signed a contract with a human. If that was the case, this elf would receive the most severe punishment. Seeing this scene, Korra's heart skipped a beat. This opponent of her, Dolly, had always been very cunning. Now that he dared to be so confident, it was obvious that he was completely confident. Perhaps things would really be as he had said, this night elf had really signed a contract with a human. As she pondered, Dolly had used the crystal to test Aisha's soul. The crystal emitted a black light, which meant that there was another soul in the other party's soul. She had really signed a contract with a human. Seeing the final result, Korra froze on the spot. It was over. It was truly over. This night elf would die. As someone who tried to break the rules, she would also be severely punished. Korra could not help but stagger. If not for someone supporting her, she would have fallen to the ground. The evidence is conclusive, Leader Korra. Even if you have a grievance, please stay behind for the interrogation. I, Dolly, am only the leader of the guards. I can't listen to your testimony. A victorious smile appeared on Dolly's face, and he ordered his elves to capture Korra. She did not resist, because there was no point now. She could only place her hopes on the Dragon of Emerald, Lady Lena. Perhaps only she could see the truth. Someone, capture this traitor who violated the teachings of the elves. Due to her powerful strength, I allow you to use force. As long as you keep her alive, you can do whatever you want. With Dolly's command, more high elves rushed towards Aisha. These elves were abnormally powerful, but Aisha could not leave this area or kill them. She could only do her best to hide and wait for her master to come out of this building. In her extremely long invisibility state, Aisha dodged many attacks and kept walking through the crowd. As time passed, Dolly could not stand it anymore. If she could not catch the other party, she would only make a fool of the other elves and adventurers in the city, so she decided to take action personally. Dolly was a level 60 platinum boss. He was extremely powerful and his level was more than 20 levels higher than Aisha. As long as he attacked, Aisha would have nowhere to hide. But just as he was about to attack, a shout sounded. Stop! Lorne walked out of the temple after completing the dungeon. Originally, he was still excited, thinking that he could let Aisha take off her hood and play freely in the city later, while buying some clothes for the little girl. As soon as he came out, he saw the scene before him. Aisha was dodging with great difficulty against the encirclement of more than 100 high elves. Seeing this, the smile on Lorne's face froze. You bastards, what are you doing? Furious, Lorne glanced at everyone present with a dark expression. When he saw the members of the Domination Guild, he took out his short staff and flashed in front of unparalleled domination. He smashed his club down, and a terrifying force instantly poured out. Ding! You have killed the player, unparalleled domination. The powerful force directly killed the other party. The elf leader, Dolly, felt humiliated, because he was a guard of the Emerald City, but the other party still killed an adventurer in front of him. This was the greatest insult to his position. Dolly was furious. Energy instantly rose from his body, wanting to kill this arrogant adventurer with his own hands. But at that moment, a pair of wings appeared behind Lorne. Powerful light enveloped the entire square. Dolly froze and could not deal the fatal blow. He froze on the spot, his eyes filled with disbelief. He had not expected that this adventurer, who looked very weak, would obtain the recognition of the Dragon of Light and become a member of the angels. Chapter 335, Noble Identity. The Dragon of Light's angel army was the glory of the dragon race. Its status was far higher than that of the elves. Even the city lord of the Emerald City had to treat the angels respectfully. This was because the elves were an affiliated race of the dragon race. It was not something a mere guard leader like him could deal with. Therefore, when he saw the other party's angel identity, he was stunned. However, he quickly reacted and shouted angrily, "How dare you pretend to be an angel?" He could not admit the other party's identity now, or else he would be confirming his crime. Dolly could only forcefully distort the current reality and seek a chance of survival for himself. "If you think it's fake, you can attack me. However, don't blame me for not reminding you. I came to the Emerald City under the order of the Dragon of Light to meet Lady Lena. If you ruin the Dragon God's plan, not to mention you, even this Emerald City might not be able to continue existing here." Lorne floated in the air, staring at him coldly. The high elf opposite was a high-level boss above level 60. Lorne could not compete with him alone, so he could only use the identity of the Dragon of Light to suppress him. Although Lorne was indeed suspected of lying, it was impossible for this elf to find Lena to verify it. Even if Lena was here, Lorne was not afraid. This was because he had the Divine Radiance mission. As the person responsible for saving the world, he firmly believed that Lena would not punish him for such a small matter. Clearly, this high elf did not have such a high status and could not meet Lena directly, so when he heard his threat, he panicked and did not dare to act recklessly. However, he still refused to admit it. "I don't care about your identity for the time being. Even if you are an angel approved by the Dragon of Light, you cannot sign a bond with the elves. This is the rule of the elves for the last 10,000 years. Anyone who violates it must be punished. I will report to Lady Lena about you, but now, we have to capture this night elf. If you want to stop me by force, I'm sorry, but we can only attack you." Elves could not contract with any race. This was the rule that the elves had adhered to for 10,000 years. No matter who the other party was, even if it was a dragon, the elves would definitely not compromise on this matter. Unless the Dragon of Light personally came to persuade them, it was definitely impossible. This was also the main point that Dolly could be tough on. Seeing the intense attitude between the two, the players who survived from the Domination Guild were secretly happy. They wished that Dolly could directly kill Tyrant so that they could pick up his equipment and use this information to spread their reputation around the world. However, just as they were feeling happy, Lorne looked at him without panic. "If I remember correctly, elves can contract with adventurers, right?" "Of course, but this adventurer has to pass the test of the taboo mystic realm. If an adventurer really passes the test, then not only will he have the right to contract with the elves, but he will also become the most friendly companion of the elves. All elves have to give him the highest respect, but..." Dolly looked at Lorne mockingly and said, "Unfortunately, 10,000 years have passed, but no one has been able to pass this test. Don't think that just because you have become an angel, you will have a chance to pass the taboo mystic realm. That's impossible. In the taboo mystic realm, adventurers need to kill more than 200 monsters inside and 5 special bosses. In addition, there is the final boss guarding the exit. There are many people who can do this, but the problem is that this trial must be completed in 2 hours, and this is a requirement that all adventurers have not been able to fulfill for the past 10,000 years. Compared to this, I think you should ask the Dragon of Light for help. Only he can save this night elf now, but I advise you to hurry up, because she might be publicly executed in the next second." Dooley knew the difficulty of the mystic realm. At this moment, he was extremely confident, and the way he looked at Aisha was also extremely ferocious. "Aisha, stay behind me." Lorne faced the high elf calmly and said to the hooded girl behind him. "Master, I..." Aisha's eyes were misty, clearly blaming herself for this matter. It was all her fault. If not for her identity as a night elf, her master would not have encountered such trouble. The next second, however, Lorne took her hand and told her not to worry. In Dolly's eyes, this was a blatant provocation. Powerful energy erupted from his body, and he wanted to take down the night elf. However, in the next second, his expression suddenly changed. A green emblem condensed on Lorne and Aisha's hands. Heavens! The surrounding high elves were all shocked. To them, this emblem was familiar and also unfamiliar. This was because it had been 10,000 years since such an emblem had appeared. Originally, they all thought that they would never see the appearance of this emblem again in their lives, but they did not expect that today, they would personally witness such a scene. How? How is this possible? How can you have this emblem? Dolly staggered as he muttered. This emblem was the proof that he had cleared the taboo mystic realm and obtained the qualification to contract with the elves. With this emblem, the contract with the elves was reasonable. Not only was everything he had done useless, but he had also created such an enemy with infinite potential for himself. His life was over. Dolly's expression turned ashen. This emblem had completely shattered all his schemes. Even Cora's sins were spared. Seeing this, Cora immediately broke free and came to Lorne's side. She knelt on one knee and said, "Guard Captain of the Emerald City, Cora, greets you, noble adventurer." Noble adventurer. Lorne raised an eyebrow. Yes, any adventurer who passes the taboo mystic realm will be treated as a noble adventurer by the elves and receive the greatest respect from us. You are the hero of us elves, and in the future, you will help the elves walk on the path of glory. Cora said solemnly. The high elves behind also knelt on one knee, giving the greatest respect to this existence who had not appeared in the last 10,000 years. In that case, Aisha can enter the Emerald City. Of course. Cora said, she is your elf companion. She also enjoys the glory of being a hero. Oh, I understand now. Aisha, go. Kill all the adventurers of the Domination Guild right now.